to get all cleaned up and put away.
Hello, happy Friday. Hope everyone's having a good day and a good weekend. I am Dakota from Galt Advocacy, and we're going to be talking about Medi-Cal today. I hope that everything's running smoothly. If you've been joining us for the last couple of weeks, you probably know that we've been having some difficulties with our internet connection. It's been slow, it's been laggy, it's sounded bad, but we did change things up a little bit here, and so hopefully that will fix things. So if you're watching this, let me know how it sounds. Let me know if I look smooth and sound not robotic. And yeah, and let me know how you're doing today. If anybody's joining us, say hi. Let us know what's going on, how you feel, how you're doing. We are going to be talking about the changes that are coming to Medi-Cal. We might dive into some other topics if it comes up, but that's going to be our main thing today. If you are watching this afterwards, please do share this video, like it, leave us a comment, let us know what you think. And yeah, I'll just give a couple of minutes to let people come in and do things. For those who are wondering, we have been talking about it a lot, about the California budget. It's a big deal. Everybody's talking about it online. You see a lot of people in IHS spaces talking about it. The situation, where we are right now, is that it's all pretty much been finalized. It's been signed. The governor's had his say. They've all put it together. As far as I know, they've already passed the deadline. It's a done deal now. So what changes have been put in place is done. And we can talk about that a little bit, what will affect our families and our, community. But all in all, I don't think there's too much to worry about, but we do want to get into what the things that are changing that could affect some people. Hi, Estella. Happy Friday. Good to see you, as always. Yeah, so let me put it up here again. So yeah, the main topic is going to be the changes to Medi-Cal. We've got a whole write-up from DHCS that we're going to go over, but we might briefly talk about some other things as well. I will say right off the bat that if you're here wondering about, is everything falling apart? Are they going to take away all your hours? Are going to take away all of your support? For most people, I'd say for like 90% of people watching this, there's really not much to worry about. You don't really have to freak out about it. It's not going to be that bad, but we'll get into the details. So like I said, if you're here, let me know how it sounds, because we have been having internet issues the last couple of weeks, but hopefully it's doing better now. And let us know how your day's going and any questions you have about this topic as we go through. So I'm going to jump into this. Like I said, we are using the information. This is coming straight from the official website. This is coming straight from Department of Healthcare Services, where they did a write-up on what changes are coming to Medi-Cal in the coming months and years due to this updated budget. So we're going to go through that, explain things, explain how I think it will or will not affect our families and our community. But like I said, please feel free to comment, ask questions, let me know what you think. All right. So the first thing they say is that for most people, there won't be really any, for one thing, there definitely won't be much immediate changes in the next few months, few years, for the majority of Medi-Cal recipients. For most people, you might get, like, they might do their assessments more often. They might, maybe there'll be a copay sometime in the future, but I would say for the majority of people, their Medi-Cal is not really going to change at all. Even with the asset limit, and we'll get into the asset limits, but even with the asset limits, I think most people don't have a ton of money lying around that's going to affect their eligibility. So let's talk about that. That is the first thing that they bring up on this write-up is the asset limit. So as of right now, the asset limit is 130,000. A lot of people know about that. That it's 130,000 for one person and an extra 65,000 for every other person in the household. It also might be, I think, maybe like 150 for a couple. I don't recall exactly, but what it says is 130 for one person and an extra 65,000 for every other person in the household. Now, it had been proposed that they were going to limit the assets down to only $2,000, which is what it was back in the 80s or 90s. That's not what they're going to do. They did not go through with that plan. The plan they went forward with is that they're going to make the asset limit, it's going to be a lot lower, but it's going to be $21,000 for a single person and $31,000 for a couple. And then after two people, it's going to be another $1,500, $1,550 for every other person in the house. So it's a lot less than it was. But it's a lot more than it was before that. So there's it's not as bad, nearly as bad as what everybody was worried it was going to be, but it is going to be there, and there could be some people affected by this. One thing that I do notice is that going from 130,000 to 21,000, like that's a big jump, but the extra for each additional person going from 65,000 to $1,500 is, I'd say, a much bigger reduction. So I'd say for families of one or two people, not as big of a effect, but I'd say the bigger your family goes, the more likely you are to run into this asset limit because they only add one extra, like basically $1,500 for each extra person, which is not a lot. Now, this does not affect everyone on Medi-Cal. It is for people, let's see, this is the list they sent. It said for people who are 65 years old or older, people who have a disability, who live in a nursing home, and are in a family that makes too much money to qualify under federal tax rules. Now, there could be, I don't know if there's exemptions. I think that's the list that they provided. But the important thing to remember is that not everything you own counts as an asset. So your house, for one thing, the home you live in does not count as an asset. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, it says one vehicle, but I think it's one vehicle per person who lives there. I have to double check that. But vehicle you use to drive does not count. Maybe it's two people for a two-person household, and then maybe not for more than that. I'm not 100% sure, but at least the vehicle you drive does not count as an asset. Other things in the household don't count, and some savings accounts, some retirement accounts, depending, don't count, but some do. So cash that you have, money that's in the bank in a savings account, and then if you have more vehicles, those things would count against your asset limit. But your home, at least one vehicle, and the furniture, the things around your house that you need to live, those things don't count. And like I said, when it comes to retirement accounts and savings accounts, it depends. So you have to look into that. Rodney, hi. Thank you for being here. Nancy said, any meetings in Spanish?
Yeah. Myra will be going live.
Yes. The same topic. We're going to be going live in Spanish in an hour, talking about all things. And they'll probably get more into the immigration issue than I will, but I will touch on it because it is a big part of the changes. Estelle said, I think after this clip with Teresa, ...
Yes, it's Myra, and it's going to be...
Yes, right. So it's Myra. That's Myra the advocate, not Myra the boss, who's going to be going live in Spanish. Speaking of Teresa, hi Teresa, can you look up whether it's one vehicle per person under Medi-Cal or if it's one vehicle for the whole household? Thank you. Right, so let me get back to, so that's the asset limit. Now that's probably the biggest part for a lot of people, what is more likely to affect people. So if you have questions about that, please follow up. But I'm going to move on to other things that are changing. So I just mentioned it, immigration. So a whole bunch of these changes only apply to non-citizens. Now, whether it applies to someone depending on their legal status, it's complicated. And they have a whole chart. I will show you the chart really briefly here. This is what they show. This is what we're looking at here. And you can see on the top here that it has, on the left side, that whole column is what the person's immigration status is. So non-citizen who has filed an application for permanent resident status, asylum seeker, Cuban, Haitian entrant. There are tons. I'll just scroll through them. There are tons and tons of different categories, and we can't go over all of them. But for each of these, they show the 4 different changes and whether it will apply to this category of person. So if the person has filed application status, it says yes to all 4 of these changes. Now, I will say I'll look through this chart. It's a little bit confusing because pretty much everyone either looks like this, where either it says yes across the board to all 4, or it says yes to the first and third and no to the second and fourth. That's what pretty much every category in the chart will be, either one or the other of those. But it's not exactly clear to me what that means, because sometimes it'll say you can get Medi-Cal, yes, but then it'll say you can get Medi-Cal but only with this, and it will say no. Well, does that mean that they're not limited, or does that mean they can't get it at all? I didn't find the chart particularly useful, so I'm going to kind of not focus on the chart and instead just going to go over the changes and what they said. And if some of these things could apply to you, then you should go check out the chart on the DHCS website and maybe follow up with questions with an official agent. But I will quickly go over the changes that are coming to people who are affected by this. So for immigrants in general, the first thing is that there's going to be an enrollment freeze. So people who are not already on it will not be able to sign up for at least a period of time. And again, this depends on what their immigration status is. People who already have full scope Medi-Cal will stay covered no matter what. You have to renew on time. They said if your Medi-Cal ends, you have a 3-month grace period to re-enroll. But if you miss that, then you'll have to reapply and you'll only be eligible for restricted Medi-Cal. So that's the first thing. There are some categories of people that this does not apply to regardless of their immigration status. Children, people who are pregnant, and people who are in the foster system. That's going to apply to a lot of these. Later, in January of next year, 2027, there's going to be something called fee for service, which again is going to apply to people who are undocumented, people who have green cards, people who are permanently residing here. So this is both legal and undocumented immigration, all covered under this thing. Now, they're saying that this doesn't mean that you're going to be paying for services out of pocket, but hard to say. I mean, it makes you wonder when it's called fee for service. Again, this is applying to immigrants. Dental coverage, they're no longer going to get dental coverage for anything other than emergencies. And this is starting in July of next year. I'm gonna pause on this. I see there's a couple of questions. So I'm gonna pause on the immigration changes and see what people are asking. Hugo said, if my grandfather has Medicaid, can he get IHSS services? Now, you have to have Medi-Cal to get IHSS, but if you have Medicaid, I'm pretty sure you should be able to get Medi-Cal as well. So not strictly, like Medicaid by itself is not enough to get IHSS, but I'm pretty sure if you qualify for Medicaid, you probably will be able to qualify for Medi-Cal, which is what is actually needed. Nessa, does this video also cover updates to the income waiver through the regional center? Arrived late. What? I don't recall. Is that one of the things that we talked about when we talked about regional center changes? I'm not sure if we'll get to that, but we do have Vinaya, who is our expert in all things regional center, is going to be coming on in a couple of weeks. And I think we did do a talk about regional center not too long ago. So I don't know if we'll get to that, but yes, we have talked about that, and we will have Vinay on in 2 weeks. So if you come back for that, we'll definitely be able to answer any questions about regional center at that point. Ricardo asked, would a business apply as an asset? If it's in your name, I think it would. For whatever money, at the very least, what the money that's in the bank account. Well, I'm not sure, and I don't want to steer you wrong because I'm not a business or financial expert, but I would think yes, but I also expect that because businesses have expenses and there's a lot of cash flow goes in and out, and the business could be in someone else's name, or it could be categorized in a different way. My guess is there's probably ways to go around that, but I would ask someone more knowledgeable about that than me. Terry said, I'd have to say how terrible it is that parents, especially as a child, have so much pain, worry, and oftentimes face so many things isolated. Then all these rules and so much hyper focus on a group of people traditionally who aren't exactly rolling in excess finances. Very true. How shameful. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, just disappointed. We totally understand you. And you're totally right, is that it's really sad that I know some of the assembly people, Congress people have said this, that when they balance the budget, they do not want to balance it, or it should not be balanced on the backs of the most vulnerable and the most underprivileged of society. And when you're taking it away from the disabled and from children and from pregnant people and from immigrants who can't get a job, you are kind of putting it on the backs of the most vulnerable people in society. And yeah, that's not where you are in fact preaching to the choir here for sure. Fami said, has the income limit changed? So there's been no change to income limits. If you are on a version of Medi-Cal that has an income limit, then that hasn't changed as far as I know. Medi-Cal through SSI is one of those that has an income limit, and that's still the same. But there is now the asset limit for, I believe it's traditional non-Magi Medi-Cal. There's several Medi-Cal programs. It gets kind of confusing, but yes, the traditional Medi-Cal, which is for people with disabilities, people who are over 65 years old, things like that. The asset limit did change from $130,000 for one person to $21,000 for one person, or $31,000 for two people.
And that's starting.
That is starting, I think, beginning of next year. Let me double check that. July of next year. So there's a whole year from now before the new asset limit. So if that's the thing, if this is going to affect you, you have time to do things about it, to put money away in a trust or to invest it in some other things. Again, you'll have to get more of an expert opinion on what does or does not count, but you have a year to sort out your finances before the new asset limit will take effect. But for now, it is still at the 130,000 mark that it was at before.
And contact Medi Helper, they can help you rearrange stuff.
Medi-Helper, yes, that is that Lisa Ramsey's
Yes.
organization? So yeah, a good friend of ours, Lisa Ramsey. She has Medi-Helper, which is her business, and this is her bread and butter, is helping people get their assets so that they're able to keep their Medi-Cal. They know what Medi-Cal services and programs that they can qualify for and get on. That's what she does. So if you need help getting your assets in line with that, talk to her. I think
I could put up a link for her website.
Hugo. Okay. Hugo said, because I just called and they said no. If your grandpa can get, yeah, like I said, if you mean you called Medi-Cal and they said no, then that maybe I'm just wrong about that. But yeah, if you called IHSS and they said no, you cannot get it with Medicaid, then that's correct. It's just you'd have to first get him on Medi-Cal. And Galt Advocacy said the vehicle exemption applies per household, not per person. Thank you, Galt Advocacy in Espanol.
Sorry, I was still logged in.
Sorry. Okay, so even if there's multiple adults in one house, they can still only have one vehicle.
It's the primary vehicle or the most expensive vehicle, and you kind of change.
Okay, so the primary or most expensive vehicle will not count against your assets, but any other vehicles for the whole household do count. Okay, that's a bit more difficult, but again, this is where Medi-Helper, Lisa Ramsey, and I think there might be other, I don't recall if Ellen Cookman does similar things as well. I mean, she does trusts, which could also be helpful in getting yourself within that asset limit for Medi-Cal.
Right. Also keep in mind that this program is meant to be for people that are low income.
Yes.
So that's why they're trying to keep it down.
And things like institutional deeming through regional center for your children who have Medi-Cal, if they're in the regional center, the institutional deeming waives your income, right? So for things like that, for those kind of qualifications, you avoid the whole problem for the child to receive Medi-Cal if they have a disability. Penny said, would think if your name and social security number on the business would count. Yeah, if for the business counting as assets, I think it's likely that it would count. It looks like Teresa followed up on that. Yes, owning a business is counted as an asset, but active business property and equipment essential for self-support, like commercial buildings, inventory, and machinery, are generally exempt and do not count towards your asset limit. Okay, all right. So they gave you more detailed answers than I was able to give. So thank you all for doing that.
I also listed where we found that information if they want to look it up.
Okay, very helpful. She also put the sources on that. Sylvia said, my boys are adopted. Is their Medi-Cal changing? We'll see when we get further into the list. I don't think strictly for that reason, just being adopted, I don't think will cause any changes. But, for the asset limit, some of the work requirements that we're going to get to later may or may not affect you, but that's going to be dependent on other factors. And for children in general, I think pretty much for anyone under 18, there shouldn't be much, if any, changes going on. And here's the link for where Teresa found the information about business expenses, business assets being counted. Hugo said, okay, you were talking to IHSS, and they're the ones that said that you couldn't get IHSS with Medicaid. So yeah, that's going to be issues that it is a benefit of Medi-Cal, so you have to have Medi-Cal. And here's the contact information for Lisa Ramsey, Medi-Helper, it's a good place to follow up on this topic. So let's get back into the changes. I'm just going to kind of breeze through some of the other immigration things because I think it's going to be covered more in detail at 1 o'clock with Myra. So they'll probably go more in detail on some of the changes to immigration. But some people federal changes are coming to immigration status. So some categories of refugee seekers and asylum seekers will no longer be counted the same way. And so their eligibility for federal funded full scope Medi-Cal, I think is going to go away. And so they'll be covered only by the state for a period. It says you'll consider receiving state funded full scope Medi-Cal through June 30th, 2027. After that, it sounds like there's going to be either copays or some sort of other system going to be put into place. And again, for immigrants of certain statuses, on July 1st, that's after the full scope Medi-Cal goes away, then there's going to be monthly premiums, which I thought they were already monthly premiums, but I guess this might be affecting a larger percentage of people, or the amount is going up. But it just says some Medi-Cal members will need to pay a monthly fee called a premium to keep their full scope Medi-Cal. And the chart that we looked at before is where you find which people will have to do that. And people who are exempt are, again, children 18 and under, pregnant people, and people who have been pregnant in the last year, and those under the age of 26 that were in foster care when they were a child. Okay, so moving on from the changes to people who are under immigration, there are some other changes that are coming through for everyone else on Medi-Cal. This is for all adults from 19 years old to 64 years old. Work requirements. So there is going to be, starting January of this coming year, January 2027, some adults will need to work, volunteer, or go to school or participate in training to keep their Medi-Cal. Now, this was something that people were worried about before, but let me just say off the bat, this, for one, won't affect a lot of people, and the people it does affect, it will be pretty easy to keep up these requirements. So I'm going to read the full list. The work or volunteer or school rules do not apply to children, people 65 years or older, people who are pregnant, parents of children who are between the ages of 0 to 13, people with disabilities, people with serious health or mental health conditions or substance use problems, people who were released from jail or prison within the last 90 days, people on Medicare Part A or Part B, American Indians or Alaska Natives, and people under the age of 26 who were in foster care on their 18th birthday. So for all of those categories of people, they will be completely exempt from the work requirements. And again, this includes parents of children who are 13 or under, and it includes children and includes people who are over 65 years old, and all people with disabilities. So if you or your child has a disability, you're exempt. If you're a parent of a child who is 13 or under, you're exempt. People with serious health or mental health conditions, all exempt. Now, there could be some people, maybe you're a parent and your child is older, they're a teenager, and you have Medi-Cal, so you're not exempt. Well, so here are the rules for how you can meet the work requirement. So these are the different ways. There are several different ways you can meet the work requirement. First is work a job and be paid at least $580 per month in total. That's not a lot. And if you're an IHSS provider, there, done. I mean, you're going to probably make at least $500 in a month, in a whole month. Second way is be a seasonal worker and make an average of $580 a month over the last 6 months. Third, be in a job training program that helps you learn skills to get a job for at least 80 hours per month. Volunteer or do community service for at least 80 hours per month. Go to school at least half time. This usually means taking, and I'm reading this straight off their website, this usually means taking 2 or 3 classes or about 6 to 8 credits each semester. Or, and this is the last one, do a mix of all of these things listed above for a total of at least 80 hours per month or at least $580 per month. So some combination of work, job training, schooling, volunteer work, all of that to add up to 80 hours per month or making $580 per month in the work that you do. So some combination of all of those things is all you got to do. And yeah, if you are under the category of people who does need to do this, it is important to know, they're supposed to send you a letter if this will affect you. And again, the work requirements are going to affect January of this coming year. So 2027, January 1st is when this will start. Another change coming in January is that there's going to be less time. I believe this is for new applicants, but I'll read it in its entirety, and people who know more about this might have some insight in it. So it says, starting January 1st, 2027, Medi-Cal will pay for fewer months of past medical bills from before you applied. Okay, so it is from when you applied. So this is this applies to all children or all adults who are not 65 or older who don't have children. And the rule is just that once you apply for Medi-Cal, they will only pay for 1 month of past bills from before you had Medi-Cal. For anyone else, for adults with children or elderly, Medi-Cal will pay for 2 months of past bills. And there's a couple more changes, and then we'll see if there's any questions.
It used to be 3 months, right? So it's just 1 month.
I think it was, because I know there was retroactive things for Medi-Cal for 3 months, and it seems like now it's going to be 2 months for most people, and then for adults without children it'll be 1 month is what the change is. Yeah. And then the other one, this is one that I believe this one's federally required, but I think it's not going to be very helpful at all, is that starting March of next year, so a few months after that, they're going to be doing eligibility checks every 6 months for Medi-Cal. This is going to apply to, I'm just going to read it because it's complicated, adults from 19 to 64 years old who are eligible for Medi-Cal because of the Affordable Care Act expansions, including members subject to the changes for immigrants listed above. So whether you're a citizen or immigrant, this applies to people who are between 19 and 64 who are eligible for Medi-Cal because of the Affordable Care Act expansions. And basically just means that they're going to get their eligibility check twice a year instead of once a year. Now, I remember when this change was being proposed, they said this is going to save the state all kinds of money because people will be taken off the program sooner when they lose eligibility, but I don't really believe it. I think it's just going to be a lot of extra work and a lot more hassle for both the counties and the state and the people who are on the program. I don't think it's going to be a benefit to anyone, but that's just me. Okay, and then I think this is the last big change, and this is the one that's the furthest away, is copayment. So it says starting in October 1st, 2028, some adults on Medi-Cal will have to pay a fee called a copayment for certain services. This applies to adults from 19 to 64 years old who are not pregnant, are not on Medicare, and who make more than $15,560 a year, which that's a pretty low amount, so that's going to be applied to quite a few people. And so if you are in that category and you make a certain amount of money, then you may have to pay a copayment for certain healthcare services, like seeing a specialist or getting certain treatments or tests. It does say there will not be copayments for community health centers or rural health clinics, emergency care, regular checkups, care during pregnancy, pediatric care, or mental health and substance use disorder treatment. So I think that covers all of the changes to Medi-Cal that we know about. I do want to say, because I know this is it's big for a lot of people, as for IHSS, because there was talk about several things that could be changing with IHSS. None of them went through. As far as I know, I looked it up this morning just to double check. None of the changes to IHSS went through. The only thing that can affect your IHSS is going to be if you lose your Medi-Cal eligibility. So if you're in a category where your assets are too high and you're in danger of losing Medi-Cal for that reason, then that could affect your IHSS eligibility. Or if you're in an immigration category that could be losing full scope Medi-Cal. Now, that may not necessarily mean that you're going to lose your IHSS completely, but maybe you have a share of cost associated with it, things like that. So, but by and large, for the majority of people, IHSS should not be changing at all. The only changes are coming to Medi-Cal, and the biggest one for that is, of course, the asset limit. So, as we had said, check out Lisa Ramsey, great resource, great person to talk to if you have questions about how to get your assets within the changes. So let me go through the comments, see if there's anything I missed, and please leave me any questions. We're wrapping up here, so if you have any questions about Medi-Cal or any other changes that you think might be of concern, please leave in the comment section now. Teresa posted, I believe this is the what we've been going over today, the changes that are coming, what to expect. This is the full list, and you can also find the immigration chart if you want to see if you are affected by any of that. Esteban asked, my kids get their Medi-Cal through SSI. Will this affect them? No, I don't think this will affect them in any way. SSI has always had much stricter requirements to get SSI and by extension Medi-Cal. So these changes, the state changes, I don't believe they'll affect SSI-based Medi-Cal at all. Now, the federal changes to certain immigration statuses, asylum, the other one, there were a few immigration statuses that were no longer being counted on the federal level. Those people will be affected, but otherwise, no, I don't think SSI is not changing this. And Teresa did follow up, said, yeah, IHS providers, your work counts so long as you work more than 80 hours. Again, that's 80 hours per month. So it's approximately 20 hours a week, a little less even than that. So.
Oh, actually, I changed that. Didn't I change that?
What?
My comment.
I don't know. Did you?
Yeah, I did. I did not change
Oh, okay. I guess I can't see the edited version, but.
As it turns out, anybody caring for disabled people in their home are exempt from the work requirement.
Oh,
altogether.
I thought so. Okay, so that is a rule. I remember I had read that before. So actually, you don't even have to worry about how many hours you're working. If you are an IHS provider, one of the categories of people that is exempt is people who care for, is it disabled family members or just anyone with a disability?
Anyone with a disability if you are their caregiver.
Okay, yeah, the caregivers of people with disabilities are automatically exempt from the work requirement. They're just in. So no worries there. If you are an IHS provider, you're taken care of. Okay.
Oh, it says family caregiver, so you have to be.
Okay, I think I don't have the whole comment here, because if you could follow up on or post the last part of Terry's comment while I read it.
Sure.
All right, totally different subject. That's fine. We're wrapping up anyway. One of your thoughts, I'm approved for IHS hours and I have a worker who has been with us over 3 years, a blessing. I'm glad you love your worker. That's wonderful. Summertime, I now have to help of a great college student for the summer. She processed through Regional Center's contract staffing provider, St. Joseph's. This covers my respite. Now I've learned from Regional Center we qualify for an additional 40 hours per month for behavioral social outings. I'm told these hours must be paid through a different vendor. Do you have the rest of the comment there? Okay, 1 second. For behavioral social outings, told you posted something else. Huh? Well, I got the link for DHCS.
What?
I think you posted something different. Okay, hold on.
Hold on.
Bear with me 1 second. Should we just a second? I'm not even sure.
How far were you?
Different vendor, yes. Apologies. I I should pull this up on Facebook, but I can only see a certain amount of the comment. But okay, so
All right. There.
regional center, you qualify for additional 40 hours per month. That's pretty good. Okay. Told these hours must be paid through a different vendor to ensure no one is paid for both respite and social. So regional center sent an email June 1st authorizing the 40 hours. There's going to be a third part as well.
Yes.
Oh, there it is. Authorizing the 40 hours and to contact to get someone processed. My 3-year person is going to take the 40 hours. So weeks go by, no contact. I'm asking regional center every week, but no contact. I've had have a person ready, still no response. For persistence, we hit July 1st, and I'm saying, hey, my little one's gone without services he's approved for, and I have the worker ready. He's lost a month of service. This is so unacceptable. He missed out on summer camp last year for similar type issue. It's just poor business practices. If you have a vendor not meeting the terms of the contract, get another vendor. Okay, so all of that say that there's been issues. I mean, if you want to share, which regional center is it that's giving you this trouble? Because
Okay, wait, here, I got some more that was in the middle that I didn't get to.
oh, hold on.
Because I thought I didn't know the whole thing would come. Okay, sorry, Terry, it's a long one.
It's all right.
Okay, hopefully that gives you the whole thing.
Okay, this is the part that I missed.
Yeah, it was between those last two. I get email out of office.
Summer vacation time. This is not acceptable. Like, just allowing an exception to have the 40 hours paid through St. Joseph's. My workers already vetted, could start yesterday until you are able to get this other vendor to do their job. Regional Center sends another email and CCs me and indicates this is requested fast track. I was told they would have responded within 24 hours. Now we are at July 11th. No contact, no information. What remedy do I have? He's missed out on 6 weeks of social outings. Now, I don't know about remedies as far as regional center. I'll say is that because I know that when we're talking about the school system and IEPs, that there's a very strict rules about if they're not meeting their goals, if the school is failing to provide what they put in the contract, that they have to provide compensation. We talk about that a lot, right? Compensation. I don't really know if regional center operates the same way. I mean, it is services that you are, deserve, but because they verbally told you that you qualify for something and that they're going to get you into it, I don't know if they have strict rules about how soon they need to go through that. But I think there is still a due process thing. What do you have? What do you see, Teresa? Anything to add to that?
Complete and submit a form online in the Department of Developmental Services.
Mm-hmm.
I will post that.
So she's going to post a link. Now, I would suggest, like I said, I mentioned before that we're going to have Vinaya on in 2 weeks, who is our expert in all things regional center. She was a regional center caseworker for a long time, and she knows tons about how they operate. So I would suggest you come back for that, and she'll probably be able to give you a better, more, comprehensive answer than I can. But maybe we'll try and, maybe we'll just pull up Facebook on the other page so we can read the whole question all at once. Apologies for that.
Yeah, I'll make sure she starts it.
Okay. Question from One Love. Hello. How about minors with institutional deeming waivers? Yeah, as far as I'm aware, asset limits, problems like that shouldn't apply to those with the institutional deeming waiver because it removes their parents' income and assets from their eligibility. So as far as I'm concerned, that's one way to avoid any issues with the asset limits for Medi-Cal. And Terry said North Los Angeles. Yeah, I could. I'm not surprised, honestly, that they're behind. So what about the IPP? The services are in the document. Yeah, that's the thing. So Teresa posted this
I say go for it.
fair hearings process. So we know a lot about doing IHSS hearings, and of course we have people who have very experienced with IEP hearings and that due process, but we don't frequently go through the regional center due process thing. So I would definitely ask Vinaya when we have her on about that. Chris, okay, we're wrapping up. So the last comment I have, if anyone has any last minute comments, put them in right now. I heard the waiver for Medi-Cal is for short term. How many years would need to keep it? If you mean the institutional deeming waiver, that pretty much, I think, lasts for as long as they need it, in terms of as long as they're still disabled and still a child. Once they're 18, they no longer need it because their income is their own. Yeah, I mean, short term, if you mean just for as long as they're children, yes. But if they mean, oh, you're only supposed to get it for like 1 year, I've never heard that. We have plenty of people who have institutional deeming waivers for many years. Teresa, sometimes just filing gives you a quick call from the people you've been ignored by. That is true. Sometimes just, it's one thing to be a squeaky wheel, but if you're a squeaky wheel, it's taking, official action that can get things moved along. But also we have seen in other programs, sometimes it's the opposite, that you file for due process and they say, well, we would have worked with you, but now that you're going ahead and going to a hearing, we're not going to do anything because you're making it legal now. You're filing the legal process, so now we're going to do anything. But that feels spiteful, really. I don't think there's I'd say like she said, go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And the hearing officer usually will get them on the ball.
One Love asked, does approved respite hours from Regional Center decrease a child's IHSS hours? No, it shouldn't. By any standard, it should not decrease it, because the IHSS is just, what does the child need? And anyone could provide the IHSS services. It doesn't have to be the parent. So as far as IHSS is concerned, having respite just doesn't matter at all, right? Does the child need assistance with tasks of daily living? If yes, then they get the hours. Now, on Regional Center side, it still shouldn't affect it. But in theory, if you were getting so many IHSS hours and you had a caregiver doing all those hours and there was no need for the respite, then maybe they would reduce your respite hours. But as long as you still need both and you're able to use both, then they should continue to give you. They should continue to give you both. When will she be on? Vinaya, that's going to be in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I'm afraid of that exactly. Some highlight someone not doing their job is just wrong. He so needs this. I totally understand that. Oh, you mean you're afraid of them saying, well, you're going through this, now we're not going to help you. I mean, if you feel like your Regional Center caseworker is gonna be like that, then maybe use your own judgment, but it shouldn't be that way. I mean, that's the way that you get things done. And if there's a problem that they're not compensating you for what they were supposed to have done, like you said, like a month ago or 6 weeks or even more, then that is sort of the appropriate process. But I don't know, maybe if you want to wait and ask Vinaya about that more, if you're a little bit concerned about it, then yeah. Jeanette said, I have a question. So by next year, 18 to 65 have to work for their Medi-Cal. How about if they're mentally not capable? So let me look at the rules again. So the work rules, and yes, this is January of next year. Those who are between 18 and 65. So the people it does not apply to is children, older adults, pregnant, parents with children. Now, it does say people with disabilities. So if mentally not capable, you mean people with disabilities. It also says people with serious health or mental health conditions or substance use problems are exempt. So when you say mentally not capable, if it's what's considered a serious mental health condition, then yes, they would be exempt from the work requirements. But, or if it's, it also says people with disabilities, which could possibly mean mental disabilities as well. Again, would be exempt, but it doesn't go into great detail about what counts as a serious mental health condition. But my guess is if you're saying that they are incapable of working because of their mental health condition, that I think that would count. I think that would count them as exempt, as long as it's documented, it's diagnosed. But yeah, if they are made to have the work requirements, then it has to be some combination of, they could do volunteer community service work. Like I said, if they, maybe they could help out at a church, right? Do volunteer work there, something free for that. I bet a lot of places like that, the Salvation Army, maybe other of these charities might even be willing to have someone volunteer for them and do very easy, very simple work, just so they can meet this requirement. Something along those lines might be available, but you'd have to look into that. And again, I think if someone's mentally unable to work, most likely they would qualify for the exemption. All right. Well, we're getting a lot of questions right at the end here, so I'll try and get through these as soon as I can before the ladies take over. That was Jeanette. Oh, do you not? Okay, so Crystal said, I applied for IHS in March, but somehow missed the deadline for submitting the medical certification or Medi-Cal certification. I don't, yeah, it would be the medical. I don't remember even getting a notification of the deadline until it passed. IHS was denied, and they said I had to reapply, which means I will lose back pay. Does that sound accurate as to the process? I mean, that is how it goes. You apply. They're supposed to very quickly send you the medical document, and officially from when they send that out, you have 45 days to get it to the doctor, have them fill it out, and send it back to them. Now, it does not surprise me at all that they may have either forgotten to send it or it never arrived in the mail. But ultimately, they can probably produce something on their end. Or what I'm saying is, yes, if you miss that deadline, you do have to reapply. You will lose the back pay. You can try just sending it late and see if they'll accept it, but I'm guessing you probably have tried that and they won't. But you will lose the back pay, and you could try filing for a hearing, but I think if you did file for a hearing, they'd probably be able to produce something that says, we did receive the application on this date, and we pressed a button on our system on this date, which is supposed to send out mail, and they never actually confirm whether or not the mail went out, but they say, well, and we presume that in the regular course of mail, that when we put it in the mailbox, it's going to get to its destination. And because no one ever told us it didn't until after the deadline had passed, we're not going to do anything about it. And typically the judges will go along with that and say, well, it says they put it in the mailbox, so whether or not you received it, because you didn't tell them about the mail you didn't receive, which how would you? The judge will just deny you for that.
How would you know?
Yeah. It sucks, but that is pretty much on par with how it works. Yeah. Teresa, hearings officer is going to want to avoid the hearing on this non-compliance issue. I still think he'll push them to get it solved without a judge. It's my opinion, though. And that's one thing I will say for you, Crystal, kind of the same deal, that if it was really close, if the deadline had just barely passed when you sent in the medical form, or if it just barely passed very recently and you could send it in now, then you could try and just see if the hearing officer will say, look, it's too much work for us to go ahead and try to fight this in a hearing. We'll just say you're okay and we'll just go from here. They might go for that, and it might save you some time, but I wouldn't count on it. I would say if you do want to try that, also put in a new application at the same time. Because you could try and see if they'll let you. They'll say, look, we don't want to fight you in a hearing about this. Let's just move on going forward. They might go for that. Jeanette said, okay, thank you. Well, if they need an assistant with him. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Like, mentally, you might need someone to be there to watch him the whole time anyway. Yeah, I would think someone like that probably would count as exempt, most likely. But yeah. And Terry said, I think you get back pay from the day you were approved. If we're talking about IHSS, as long as the provider has been with the person providing services the whole time, you can get back pay back to the day you applied. As long as it's all above board, right? If there's an issue and the provider at the time you applied was not eligible to be a provider, not that they hadn't signed up, but just if they, for whatever reason, could not be a provider at all, then you can't get paid back to that time because you weren't eligible. Sylvia followed up on our question from earlier. Thank you. And yes, that's correct. The Medi-Cal first. Chris said, yeah, they denied even though you sent it in late. Yeah, I mean, if it was really close, you could try filing for a hearing on it and saying, look, I only missed it by a little bit. Can we just move forward? And maybe they would say it's too much work to try and stop you, but it's a long shot. Hugo, and this is gonna be last question. I gotta make way for the Spanish question. So last question. As a secondary parent becoming the provider, the other parent already is a provider. Does a secondary parent need to turn in the Medi-Cal certificate form? No. When it comes to having a second provider, just do the provider enrollment, get attached to that case. You're good to go. You don't have to, the recipient applying for IHSS and the provider applying to be a provider for IHSS, two totally separate things. So if you want to add another provider, they just have to do the provider enrollment and let them know what case you're going to be attached to, and then you guys figure out how the division of hours is going to work from there. All right, that's it. I know we've gone into a lot of things that are other than the Medi-Cal changes, but I hope that was informative to you. If you missed anything, you can watch the recording later on. And if you speak Spanish, join us in a few minutes where Myra or Nicole or both, I saw them both for a second ago, but they're going to be going over the same information in Spanish, and they might have maybe more insight on some of the changes that I briefly went over. So thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next week.